Crack this baby wide open. Wait. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the S.O.S Podcast. Today I'm here with a longtime friend, longtime family member.
Tired.
Type. I'm here with John Cookie. How are you today, my friend?
Exhausted, but we're powering through it. Powering through it.
That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say this, but give us a little synopsis. Tell us who you are. Uh, what you currently are doing right now.
Cool.
And yeah.
Yeah. So my name is John. Obviously, what DJ said. I went to Arupe from 2021 to 2023. Graduated with my associates in science. And I'm currently at Loyola on the pre-med track. It's 4 years long. And I just finished my first 2 years and passed organic chemistry, which is one of the hardest classes that you could take, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. I'm currently involved in a lot on campus, but my most noticeable thing I would say is that I'm the chair for one of the our student success initiatives through the president's office called the Raymond Brotherhood Project. Pretty much is just helping the smaller demographic of men on campus receive the resources for them and make sure that they are graduating in 4 years with the GPA that they are satisfied with, are recommended, or what we're targeting men to, or students, I'm sorry, to target is a 3.0 while also volunteering at least 6 hours within the community and also attending at least 80% of attendance of our meetings. So very proud to be a part of that initiative and working with amazing administrators every single day and student leaders as well. I'm also really huge into cancer research, so I do a lot of my time doing that as well. I'm going back to the University of Iowa this summer for 10 weeks for continuing my research that I just recently got published for
Mm.
a couple weeks ago. So yeah, that pretty much just sums up how I am and who I am as a person, what I'm involved in so far. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you, everybody. This has been a podcast because that was 90% of my questions that I was gonna ask about it.
but it's
But
cool. It's cool. Well, we can dive more deep into it
no,
though.
no,
You know,
no,
for
no.
sure.
I was kidding. Well, since you brought it up, we went to college at Arupe. Why did you choose Arupe and Loyola? Well, specifically, why did you choose Arupe? And then, if a lot of people don't know, Arupe students they get a scholarship
Hmm.
to get a full ride at the big campus at Loyola.
Hmm.
So the first question will be, why did you choose Arupe? And then the second question is, what made you choose to take the scholarship to continue at Loyola?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, I chose Arupe mainly because of the family aspect. I would say, like, I know it's like a huge like narrative right now, and like when people use the word family, like at work or like at school, it's like more of a toxic standpoint. But for me, I felt like if I wanted to be successful as a student, I needed to be surrounded by faculty and administrators that deeply care about their students, because I will be like, going to them and just asking them more than just like student questions, more about like life questions and stuff like that. Because I'm an independent student that relies on themselves for income, figure well, just gotta power through things and figure things out. So one thing that really drew me to Arupe was the family aspect of them always caring for you no matter the circumstance, and you can always find someone to talk to about that. Um, and then also the dedicated work outside of the classroom, just going to office hours and just making sure you understand the material, because I think a lot of students, not just at Rupe, but at Loyola or any university or college as well, don't really take advantage of creating that relationship with their professors and to kind of keep them in a loop of like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was like one of the main things I think really brought me to Rupe was being supported throughout the 2 years I was going to be there. Um, and why I chose Loyola, one of the main reasons why I chose Loyola is because of I felt like I was already, adapted to like the atmosphere
Yeah.
of going to like a PWI. I was already involved past Rupe while I was at Loyola. So I didn't really have a hard time, transitioning over to the big campus, but, being like the smaller demographic, not only just like as a male, but just like as a black student in like a room full like maybe 100 some like, white students, white identifying students, it definitely threw me for a loop my first semester. So yeah, no, the minute I took advantage of all my resources that I could take advantage of throughout that fall semester, I was able to power through it. I didn't get a good GPA that I wanted, but I passed some classes. But that following semester, since I took advantage of all those resources that I was just taking like talking to my professors, reaching out to different administrators, and just ways that I could learn the material a lot easier. Them investing in me also allowed me to figure out how am I as a student learning this material, especially on the pre-med track.
Okay.
So as soon as I was able to kind of get my feet wet and understand like how things were, um, I was able to end up with almost a 4.0, like a 3.97. 3.97.
Congratulations,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
So that was a huge jump from like I would say like a 1.2 to a 3.97. It definitely was like I definitely could do this. Let me just invest in myself as I go through it. So yeah, those are really the main reasons why I chose Rupe and Loyola, just because I think that family aspect for me is really important. Simply because you need to feel that sense of support from not only just your family but also the place you're going to school at. So
Okay.
yeah.
Because it's hard for me to even get a 3.66, so I'm taking any C's
Well,
get hey C's get degrees,
C's
people,
get degrees. C's do get degrees.
but A's look good on resumes.
That part. That part.
So y'all better write that down.
Write it down.
But I'm gonna get into it some more. You talked about having a good family with
Hmm.
special awareness.
Hmm.
Um, during your time at Rupe, we were involved in a men's group called what's it called again?
Black man for success.
Black Men for Success. I'm in so many black student groups, I get them all mixed up.
Hmm.
But talk about that experience, being in Black Men for Success, but also just any black student group within Loyola and Arupe.
Yeah. So while I was at Arupe, I was semi involved in Black Men for Success. Once I started to realize that I wanted to go on the pre med track, it was kind of hard for me to attend a lot of
Mm,
events, just because Arupe was also transitioning to have biology and chemistry as one of the classes that you could take while on the pre med track, pre STEM track at Arupe, and then it's pre med once you get to the 4 year. So yeah, it was definitely a good experience. I think a lot of, like I said, I think a lot of students don't take advantage of it. Of just like even though we went to a more predominant people of color college, we were
mhm.
like black men were severely, like it was like maybe 11 of us out of like 220, two
We
something.
were the minority in a
Yeah,
minority school.
exactly. So it was just like subgroup of a subgroup type.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think the amazing faculty that Arupe had, they have full support and getting black men together to feel the support not only at Arupe but networking with them up at Loyola. So yeah, it was able to like give black men a space, and not only if you like just like just black men, but also black students as well, because there was also a thing called Black Student Union that
Hmm.
was also very supportive for our black men and at Arupe. So they had different events going on and different resources. Just simply reaching out to the advisors of those groups could simply take you a long way of just understanding things in a more deep matter.
The food was a little iffy though.
Yeah,
Y'all could have done
a
better.
little shaky, but I
Sometimes
mean,
chicken through the week kind of get bored.
yeah.
You know,
Why is that only the black? Why is that only like the black people food that people know about? You know
I
what I'm saying?
mean,
But
I wouldn't mind a little seafood boil, a little some tacos or
seafood
something
boil was
like that.
crazy, but
We had that at our events over at National Louis. Not trying to, compete or nothing, but I'm just saying. We had
I'm
people over
trying to
there.
figure out how that's gonna work. But I mean that yeah,
I do
homeroom
want a
smell like
seafood.
fish.
I do want a seafood boil now that you said, but I'm broke, so I can't even get one.
That's that's real. That's very real. Student life.
I don't need it to be real, man. Oh, I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it. I love and hate being a college student because on one hand, it's like you can kind of do whatever you want, but at the
Hmm.
same time, the expectations is so high.
Yeah.
It's so
Because
high.
you are considered an adult at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a weird dynamic, but finding the middle ground I think is also important.
But speaking of that, one thing I've learned in college is that you don't have to suffer alone.
Hmm.
So talk about that, the camaraderie college. I mean, not camaraderie college,
Hmm.
the camaraderie culture.
Yeah.
Basically, how easy is it to make friends? Not in just Rupe itself, not in
Hmm.
just Loyola, but in college in general. And why are having a group or just one person so important? You know, in the college spectrum.
Yeah. I think it's very important to have not only just your friends, but people that you can trust full force with, information that you might be a little iffy about. Um, yeah, like I've been saying this whole time, I think family is just like, top tier. Like I try to back away from, the dynamic of turning friends into family type, because I always see the good in everybody until like there's something that arises that like, multiple times that you see the same things over and over again.
That's,
Even after conversations, they still rise. Like kind of have to find like what, I don't think
yeah.
we could be cool because, I've, we talked about, making decisions like this or making me feel this way and it's not really working out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
as a professional hater, I treat everybody just the same.
That's
There's a hierarchy to it. You gotta
professional hate is crazy, I think, but
you, you, you gotta as soon as you break the mold, then I'm like, all right, cool. I ain't gotta hate on you no more, or something like that. But let me stop,
but
man. Let
yeah,
me stop.
but yeah, no, it's really important though. Friends is like I've met some of my closest best friends now through RBP just simply because like we were together like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely was like a shift because I'm like, my best friend is white. Like I thought that was kind of crazy, but at the same time, it's just like he's one of the few people I trust in this world a lot with a lot of
There is
like, with
nothing
a lot of
wrong
stuff.
with being
So
friend. I'm gonna edit this out. There's nothing wrong with being friends with a white
I know that. I know
man.
that, but like I'm from the hood, and it's just like you don't see a whole bunch of white people. It's just like what's going on. But like my closest best friends is white, and I'm like I know that doesn't play a huge factor, but like
Mm-hmm.
shifting your mind from all I see is black people every single day. Even when I go home, all I see is black people. To bro, my best friend is white. Like it's a shift of mindset because you're like, wait, I don't have to be on defense mode all the time. I can kind
Mm-hmm.
of like let my guard down a little bit and be like, okay, cool, like we just vibing
To
type.
be fair, my best friend's Argentinian.
That's people of color. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Kind of.
he forced me to watch soccer though. I mean football.
Yeah, you about to say you said it
Football.
wrong. I'm about to say yeah, football.
Shout
Yeah.
out to you, Thomas.
Shout out to Thomas.
I'm never watching another World Cup
Thomas
with you
who?
again.
Thomas from Arupe?
Yeah,
That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, yeah.
I'm never watching soccer. I mean football with you again. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do it again. But you pointed out on something though, which
Mm-hmm.
is something I experienced being at the Rogers Park campus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sudden culture change and culture shift
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who don't have my skin color here.
Yeah.
But it's also like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that I would dream of to have at the schools I was at the parks I was at
Mm-hmm.
the gyms I was at. Talk about that sudden culture change of going from, like you said, the hood, or even just being at a Rupe to going to Rogers Park and seeing the big difference.
Yeah. I think I want to like make a strong advocate for this. I think there's just a big difference in general from like the downtown campus and the Lakeshore campus, with
Mm-hmm.
also a mixture of there's already a lot of white people here on this campus compared to all you see is white people up there, but it's just amplified times three, just
Mm-hmm.
because a majority of classes and student involvement is at our Lakeshore campus. So definitely was a culture like switch and like a switch. Sorry, culture shift in a way that there was a lot more white people times three from what I was usually seeing on a day to
Yeah.
day basis to now. It was like, wow, this is my life now. Like I was happy, but then I was like, I definitely got to figure things out like kind of quick. Because the way it also plays a huge part in like what your major is, because the way
Mm-hmm.
my major was like from the get go, you got to just understand it, read the book if you need to on your own, like. And I wasn't really ready for that. It was just like I was like,
Okay.
ooh,
Yeah.
this is definitely what did I just get myself into type. So I think it just took me, I'll say, a full semester to kind of realize like my role at Loyola. Like I wasn't gonna be another statistic of just like another black person at
Yes.
the tally type.
Yes.
I
Yes.
really wanted my voice to kind of make a huge difference, not only just for black students, but just students in general, just because I'd already had the connections of knowing so many administrators and faculty and staff here, that they trust my judgment on a lot of stuff to
Mm.
make for our student body and just for students in general. So, and I also, in the same way with students, I always try to make it up front and like very blunt that I'm super involved in this campus. Like I know endless amounts of people. Like it's just past Chicago at this point that can make a difference for people if you allow yourself the opportunity to reach out to those that have those opportunities and to kind of be a strong advocate for yourself. So yeah, no, the shift I feel like wasn't a huge part in just like, me being the only black person. Obviously, that everybody has like, that, ooh, like this is not what I thought this was, but I went into it with like a
Where
mindset
the niggas
of
at?
exactly like where everybody at type. But
What the
I knew
black
where
brothers
people
at?
hung out at. I know where they were like hanging out at. I know who to text. There was a whole group chat. Like it was there's ways that you can navigate past things. But I will say this right now, I always kept my head high though, for like my head above the water, just so I'm like, okay, like I'm
Nah.
here now. Let's hit the ground running from the jump. So it took me a little longer to figure it out, but I definitely the switch flipped the minute it needed. Like it was perfect timing. I would say that it was perfect timing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Speaking of figuring stuff out, what
Mm-hmm.
got you into your major?
Um, I'll say I went into my major for the wrong reason originally, because I watched Grey's Anatomy and I thought I was like, oh yeah, because I saw Derek Shepard and I was like, yeah, for sure, like I want to be a neurosurgeon. And after like having multiple conversations with a lot of doctors, and as soon as I got up here, I started to figure out like what was my why for why I chose my major, because it was just past like
Right.
watching a TV show and seeing him do surgery on people, like it's a good day to save lives type, you know what I mean? But my brother was also diagnosed with diabetes type 1. He has a rare mutation of it because type 1 is usually at birth, but he didn't get it to like maybe he was like 7th grade, so like 12, 13.
Okay.
So it was like a huge thing for my family because like we were already poor. Let me fix that. There's poor and Po is poorer than Po. Like, you know what I mean?
Financially disadvantaged.
You can say that. But you can say that one too. But just going from that, and then like insulin costing so much money at one point that it's just like it was kind of just like, man, like why does this cost so much money? And it was just like putting us in a rough patch for like I'll say a smooth like 2-3 years. And I would say me being a strong advocate for my brother throughout that transition of his life, I think allowed me to see that I want to be a person for him with others and always try to, be there for people no matter the circumstance. Even if I do know you, if I don't know you, I always try to come across as a positive individual or someone that, wants to make a change or, tries to understand people a lot of the time. Because a lot of people have a story, and I never try to judge people off of their appearance or first sight, because you don't know if someone could look properly dressed and be going through the worst shit ever. Like it's like, I've seen pretty much it all. Like it's kind of crazy, but I think I want to be a person that allows people to be vulnerable with, and also allow me to kind of help them transition their lives in a way that either medicine can offer or like my expertise can offer, or like me connecting with someone that can help them get into a better position in their life. So yeah.
I cannot wait to make these reels. These would be so inspirational. These would be
Oh,
so inspirational.
for sure. I mean, that's yeah, that's pretty much my why though.
So let's go back to what you do outside of the class, but still in the school. You talked about the Rambler Brotherhood Project. We also talked about the Black Student Union.
Yep.
But first, talk about not the initiation, but just talk about a little deep dive on what the Brotherhood Project is and what has it accomplished for you, and what have you accomplished within the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Well, what has the Brotherhood accomplished since you've been there?
Yeah. So from originally the Rambler Brotherhood Project was a male success initiative, but they slowly started to transition to not men, but just like a student initiative, just because they wanted to find a way to support not only just men, but just on a larger scale of just like any student that feels like they need that sense of support or community. The Rambler Brotherhood Project can offer that. So I originally became the vice president as soon as I got to Loyola. I stepped into vice presidency role, just because I've been around so many administrators and faculty and staff that I pretty much knew what vice president truly meant, and that what it meant for me was that making sure that our president was representing himself in the best way possible. Pretty much anytime he was doing public interviews, dinner speeches, dinners, speaking with the provost, speaking with the president, going to AJCU, which is the Associate Jesuit Conference University, going to these different events and just making sure that he's speaking about RBP in the best light, and just making sure that we're continuing to receive the support not only from Loyola, but just anywhere outside of that.
Yeah.
Because we definitely can see that RBP could be bigger than just Loyola. It could definitely be like a pipeline for students that are involved in like Chicago Creed, for example, or coming from different high schools that are predominantly like black men or like men
Mm-hmm.
in general, because we want to kind of see that number rise in men attending university. So we're finding different ways to kind of find support for those as well. Um, what we have accomplished so far from being in vice presidency for 2 years was,
He's so professional. Oh my god,
but
I'm
I
fanboy.
mean, like, no, but it's that's what it's pretty much just brought me, is just kind of taking my leadership skills from what I've learned at Arupe to now. Like, I feel like I wouldn't really make the same decision that I was when I was 20, when I first came to Loyola, to now. Like, my mind has kind of just shifted from just having those tough conversations with those adults at Loyola or my family, to figure out like how, like, reflecting on what they've learned, but also how can I incorporate that in my life. So yeah, what RBP, to kind of get back on track, what RBP has accomplished in these 2 years has been, we've received funding for like a scholarship for students if they it's about $1,500, I believe, but it's also that 1,500 can make a huge difference in someone's life. So we don't really look at the amount; we more look at it as someone has earned the scholarship by going to at least 80% of our attendance. So meaning every Thursday we have our meetings. It could be like Wayne Majars, he's the chief financial officer for Loyola. We have Phil Hale, he's the vice president for student government. Vice president for government relations of Loyola. Like, these different speakers that have so many different key things that they want students to take away to kind of learn from the mistakes that they have made, but want them to kind of get ahead of it while they're speaking. But we've gotten scholarships. We went from, I believe like 10 or 11 last year. It might be slimmer than that. I might be pushing it, but like 10 or 11, I'll say a good five because I've only seen five. But
Mm.
to this year, we've given out 32 scholarships.
Ooh,
So I think that shift from some, like,
that's
these students
fantastic.
investing themselves and just be like, okay, RBP definitely is something we want to be involved in. And it's not just business students; it's also nursing students, it's also pre-med students, arts and sciences, like political science, like stuff like that. Like, it's a range of students that are getting themselves involved in RBP.
Okay.
And then we also have a suit that we also give out for students that are, showcasing leadership and just being super involved in RBP the past what our scholarship has to offer. I believe we've given out, I think, 32 as well. So like, we didn't give out
Okay.
any the year before just because we were still building ourselves up, and not only our leaders that were on leadership received them, but now we were opening it up to more of our general body. So students recommended those who they felt like deserve one, and we've given out 32 suits. So it's definitely been a shift of, students investing in themselves, but also seeing themselves in a better light by just, attending one meeting. Just because I was a student at one point at a Rupe that didn't feel comfortable being in these like huge meetings and like, oh my
Mm.
god, like I might be
Yeah.
the only Rupe student in here type.
Yeah.
But my main thing that I wanted to push for in RBP, especially in our Thursday meetings, was that our leaders are meeting the guys at the door every
Yep.
single
Yep.
time to introduce themselves and being glad that they came, and just making sure that we have a consistent amount of students investing in themselves every single week. So it's not like a new 40 students every single week. It's the same 40 or same 50, the same 60, because I think that is more logistically right and for my soul, and just like allowing me to see that, okay, these guys are investing in themselves past our meetings. They're also, speaking to our leaders to see what are more ways they can get involved, like study halls. We also have like partnered volunteering hours that they could do, anything of that matter. Like, students could always find a way to get more involved, and that's why we have our student leaders to point them in the right direction. So yeah, I've created a dynamic with our student leaders to like let them know, like, hey, you've been involved in RBP this long, like X amount of years long. Let's also, have more students look to you as a role model, and to see like, when I invested myself within RBP, what does that look like? And then also, how has it kind of pushed me to be a better leader and also be a better person, male or female?
From what I've heard, your strongest, well, I would say even one of my strongest things, but
Mm-hmm.
specifically your strongest thing is networking.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to network in college? Because I know a lot of people, even me,
Mm-hmm.
going into college, especially with National Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
I was just focused on just like, hey, I'm gonna get here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my work,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gonna leave
That's real.
until I met somebody who does BC, which is their basically their Black Student Union stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the year goes by, they got me doing student spotlights. They got me doing student spotlights for the SOAR team, which is our student engagement team.
That's what's up.
BC, we have a Black Student Union.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually in it. Then we also have a Central of Excellence, which is our Latino-based union. I'm really advocated with them.
That's what's up.
So security guards know me. It's one of those
Yeah.
things like, hey, Delani, what's this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? You know, but talk about the power of network and how it could change you from just like a normal Joe to basically the most known person in the school.
Yeah.
Because once again, back to you, you learned a lot of these people
Mm-hmm.
that by the time when you got into the brotherhood, you were
Mm.
already vice president.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like the power of networking, especially no matter the major, pre-med or not, like it's
Mm-hmm.
very important. And I think another thing to kind of add to it for networking is the personality part.
Mm-hmm.
Because these people that you're trying to network with meet so many people on a day-to-day basis. Like think about it. Like the president of Loyola, right?
Yeah.
They just did commencement, right? He's shaking all these people's hands. He's meeting, I would say, a good 95% of them for the first time. Like he's not going to be able to remember your name, but I would say the power of networking and the way that you can kind of get people to remember you is, give them something to remember you about. Like make the
Yeah.
conversation kind of like memorable to be like, okay, when they see your face, they might not know your name, but they remember the conversation you had at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So networking could take you from like Delani said, it's like from someone normal to probably the most powerful piece on the chessboard.
Yeah.
Um, because and the power of it is like I would say being I keep using this just because I love it, but being a person formed with others and like seeing that light when people see that light in you and that fire and like they see that you want to do something about something that a lot of people talk about but not do nothing about.
Yep. Yep.
Having a plan, people love like hearing plans and just hearing your story, and more than just hearing your story, but just more of like how your story has kind of influenced you to the work you do today.
Mm.
Like I said earlier, I'm from the South Side of Chicago, Inglewood, so like in a more specific way. So it's kind of like down the street from University of Chicago, more south of it. So it's not too bad of a neighborhood, but it's like you go north, you have University of Chicago, and then if you
Yeah.
go west, you have Obot. Like it's kind of funny, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so and plus I was raised in a very old fashioned way. My grandma, she's like almost about to turn. She's closer to 80 than she is 70.
Ooh.
Yeah, but she don't look her average 70, 80. Like Melanin do be doing this big
That's
one.
because black don't crack, man.
Exactly.
Black
So
don't
she
crack.
always instilled this in my head was this like making sure I represent myself in the best light, like in the best light, in the best light possible, no matter the environment or the occasion, because you don't know what people are going to remember about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do remember something about you, let it be something like he was a nice, like well-spoken gentleman that is has like a fire lit under him, and he just has a plan, has a way, and he's involved in the right stuff, and properly trained, and stuff like that to kind of make things memorable for not only just you but also those that you are networking with as well. So the power of networking can literally change people's lives, get careers that they've never thought they would ever hear, get internships with different departments, um, coffee with the president or a CEO of somewhere that you probably
For
didn't even know
sure.
that they were. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff that you can do, but power networking, I think, can seriously change your life for the better. And I think networking for me is super special to me because every single conversation I have with people, I always try to find a way to, make them laugh or, make it a more casual
Mm.
conversation than it is a professional one. Just because like, you can have your, like, you can get to business, but you
Yep.
can
Yep.
also like have those casual conversations like, oh, like, how's your day? And go more in depth from there. So
Mm.
that's the way I've networked these past 4 years, and it's
Yeah.
definitely changed my life.
Let's take it right back to Urupe and uh, let's talk about two important people who are well important to me, and I'm pretty sure they're important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Cochran and Dean Keys. Just
Mm-hmm.
talk about them and the work they've been doing for us and
Mm-hmm.
how they made Urupe a place for not just all students,
Mm-hmm.
but for us as black men and for us as African Americans
Hmm.
going to a PWI school.
Yeah. I would say Dr. Cochran is a great individual. He is a very steer-headed person. I
Yes,
look at
yes.
Dr. Cochran more as like a spear, like a not a spear, like the thing, like the stick, and like the sharp sword at the end. I don't know if that's even what it's called, but y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all get what I'm saying. He probably gonna put it like a little stick, whatever. But
I'm
he's more
confused.
spearheaded. Like he once he sees something that he feels like is the best for the community, he's gonna try his absolute hardest to get it done.
Yeah.
I feel like he's that type of individual where he sees a vision. He talks to Dean Keys. He also talks to Dr. Castellanos, who's also another advisor
Shout out.
for BMS. Yep. And once he runs it past them, he's like, "I'm gonna go do it," and whatever. Like that's just his personality. But I think, especially for BMS, especially out of Rupe, he had the opportunity or has the opportunity to explore things to see what works, what doesn't work, because there's so
Mm-hmm.
many people around the country that quote Arupe as like this main structured and well firmed out college because of how many people are graduating, how people are graduating with their bachelors, how many people continue at 4 years, and the graduation rates. Like it's a lot of things that come out of Arupe that is
Yeah.
good, and it's so many mimicked models at Boston College and all these different Jesuit universities at that look at this as a program or a college that invested well in their students and have the resources like that. So alongside Dean Keys as well, I think he is the person um, that you can always go to for advice, that always has a solution for things, and
Mm-hmm.
has it gives you a way to kind of value different ideas